You probably know what it's like, that end of the week scramble when you're trying to figure out what went wrong and why you're so behind on all of your tasks and projects and what you're supposed to do to try and rearrange things and reshuffle things so that you can get back on track. And it just seems impossible. Hey, fellow leaders, it's Gabe Kolstad, and I want to talk to you for just a couple minutes about what you have to do before you can fix your schedule. Whether it's regret or exhaustion or frustration, I know the feeling of waking up and going, something is off and I need to figure out how to fix it. And I probably, like you, blame lots of things in my life when this happens. I mean, I blame bad mattress, I blame not enough tech or the wrong tools. I blame family chaos. I blame a demanding job and things like that. And, really, those things are not it. There's something else at play, and you and I can figure out how to fix it. So what is it? And one of the things I want to share with you is that before you can fix your schedule, you have to fix your priorities. And that's been a lifelong journey and struggle for me. Let's talk a little bit about how to fix your priorities. First thing first, you got to clarify your yeses. Clarify your yeses. I picture this in an inverted triangle. And what happens is you kind of get God at the top. And if you're somebody like me, a person of faith, somebody who believes in Jesus, somebody who's serving and trying to figure out how to make my life matter, God deserves to be at the top for sure. And you might go like, yeah, that's why I prioritize my work over my family. Well, that's not the way to do it. So, God being at the top means a couple of things. It means in my time, how is God the first, right? How is he the first in my time? Things like, do I have a time in the first part of the day, maybe, where I wake up and I say hello to God and I spend some time thinking about him, reading scripture, praying, maybe, journaling. That's my practice. That's not everybody's practice, but it sure helps me. But it's my time to interact with scripture, interact with God, and to let him talk to me, to hear from him, and then to talk to him. And that is, putting God first in my time in that sense is like, I'm going to carve out a really important slice of my life. And I'm going to symbolically then say to God, you're the first, you're the most important. The other place that this really gets measured is with my finances. Is God first in my finances? And how would you know? Well, you would know if you are giving. The Bible talks so much about generosity. Jesus talks so much about money and giving and letting go and trusting God. And the way that we practice that is through giving God what he would call the first part. Back in the Old Testament, of course, in the Bible, we're taught to tithe. And that's a principle all through the Old Testament. We do see it repeated in the New Testament. I personally believe tithing is a great place to start. 10% of my income back to God. And I realize that if you're somebody who's not gotten into this habit, or this is new kind of thinking to you, to think of moving from 0% to 10% instantaneously is like, how would I do that? I mean, there's some great programs like Financial Peace University and all that stuff that can help us to get there. But I think the principle that I want to talk about is God first in my finances? Sometimes everything's out of whack because we're feeling behind financially. We're not receiving the blessing of God. We're not budgeting so that we can be generous. We don't feel that sense of purpose in our life. And sometimes money's the problem. The way that we're spending money, the way that we're, reacting and responding, and maybe it's a lot of debt, and maybe it's just some pressure, maybe it's just materialism, who knows? But generosity is really a great solution to all of those things. And generosity is a way we say, God, you're first in my finances. And then the other thing is, to give God not only the first part of every day, the first dime of every dollar, as they say, and the first consideration in every decision. Like, which way am I going? And is God going to be able to be the driver? Will I really listen if God tells me yes, no, maybe? If God tells me go or slow or no, am I really going to listen to him? If I put God first, honestly, in my time and in my finances, it's a lot more likely that I will listen when he says what I'm supposed to do. And so putting God first is really important. It's one of the reasons why sometimes we wake up and it's all in a scramble because we really didn't pause to consult God. We really didn't align our life with God's priorities and programs for us. And so things are out of alignment. So it's time to go like, God, let me put you back at the top. Second one would be family. Family is so important, as we all know. And, putting family in their rightful place, not as God, not above God, but just below. the people that are the closest to you. I love John Maxwell's definition of success. He says it's when the people that are closest to me love and respect me the most. Because, we just spend a lot of time trying to impress everybody in the world, our boss, social media people, all this stuff. But the ones we really want to impact are the ones that got us put closest to us, our family, people in my household, people I'm related to, people I love, they love me. How am I, really putting them in the rightful spot? One of the things that I think about is, okay, when will I be with them? Like, if you're thinking about, again, kind of the same categories, I guess, of time, when will I be with my family? Is it scheduled? Do we have it on the schedule? It's important that stuff happen. How will I be with them? In other words, am I going to be fully present? That's a question that I've had to wrestle with, because I'm the kind of person, my mind starts spinning. I'm solving problems in my head. I'm making lists in my head. I'm kind of reorganizing priorities all the time. Things are happening like that. So when I'm sitting at the dinner table, when I had younger kids, my kids were at soccer practice, was I really there? Am I really present? Am I really engaged? Am I really energized and part of the conversations and asking questions and, really a part of what's going on? How am I going to be with them? And then what am I going to do with them? One of the things that I think is so important and can really help align everything in our lives is when God's at the top, when family's next, and we go, what we're going to do? We're going to make some great memories. We're going to go deep together. We're going to spiritually enrich our lives. We're going to get all kinds of enrichment. My wife and I have really prioritized making memories. And I'll tell you what, we've never regretted that. We've never regretted sacrificing a bigger TV, and instead of doing that, going out like on a trip with our kids. The things that matter most in life are things that, the memories that we make, right? And the people that we impact, and the people that are closest to us deserve our best. So if you're thinking about that upside down triangle, I kind of put a line right at the bottom of family. So you got God and family, and I'm thinking my best needs to go to my family. And then the third category at the bottom of that triangle would be the rest, like everything else in my life. What does that include? It includes work, includes, shopping. It includes all the things that are necessary in my life, mowing my lawn, all that stuff comes down there. And I think that, when it comes to the rest, you got to give them the rest. You give God and family the best, you give the rest the rest. And I get that you might be going like, holy smokes, you're saying my career is just down in this lower part. Well, I think if you do the first two things right, you have a lot to bring to the rest. You really do. You have energy, you have priority, you have focus, you have all this power that you can bring. But why I put that down at the bottom is because what they say is hard time drives out soft time. In other words, the things that everybody expects you to do will drive out the things that you want to do. So you got to kind of put the important things on your calendar first. If you remember that old illustration about the jar with the big rocks and the sand and the small rocks and the water and all that stuff, the only way to make it all fit in the jar was to put the big rocks in first. And that's what we do with God and family. And the rest is there. But, what is your calling? What is your community? What's your vocation? What are your obligations? Those things need to be a part of your life. Very important. You got to plan them. You got to really structure them. But I think one of the things that I've learned is that I first do God, then family, then the rest. Okay, here's a one way to think about this is like a calendar. Michael Hyatt has this great tool called the Ideal Week. You could probably get a PDF of it if you want to go search it up. But the basic idea is from let's say Sunday to Saturday in your week, what's ideal for you? And have you ever thought that through? Have you ever thought like, well, what comes first? What comes second? What comes third? And if I was thinking this through, I'd probably put a calendar up and be like, okay, category 1 is my time with God. So where on my calendar is that going to be? Can I pre-plan that so that every day I know when am I going to get with God and when am I going to really prioritize my relationship with him? So on my calendar in the morning, every day is time with God. And then on Sundays is that worship time. I'm a pastor, but I still prioritize my experience at church with my church family as worship. And so I've got these number ones on my calendar. And then number 2 would be my family. And so where's my family on this thing? So I've got Sunday afternoon as an opportunity to hang with my family. I've got Monday is my day off. So Monday is almost all number 2. It's like, hey, it's my wife. When my kids are around these days, it's my kids. And then the evenings all across from Monday through Saturday are family because we except for like maybe 1 or 2 nights, I've said I could have 2 nights out has been my rule I've tried to stick with: 2 nights out, which is hard. You got to say no to a lot of stuff. But family, goes in those boxes where it really counts. And then so then that leaves me, a nice big chunk of time throughout the week, and then other little fill-in times where I'm focused on my work and my other priorities. And I work plenty. I don't shortchange my church that I'm employed by. I don't shortchange the clients that I serve, coaching and things like that. I work hard, but I will tell you, I put more energy in my relationship with God and more energy in my family. And that has kept me clarified more, because then I wake up on a Friday morning and it's the scramble, or the Thursday morning and it's the scramble, but I can pause and go, wait, what's most important? Let me just chill for a second and make sure those things are in place. The big rocks are there. As long as those are there, the rest will work itself out, and it always does. So I think the most important thing that we can do when it comes to fixing your schedule is fix your priorities, and you can do that by clarifying your yeses, and then also by clarifying your no's. Number 2, clarify your no's. What are you going to say no to? Because you got to know what you're going to say no to if you're going to be able to feel like you know what's coming up, and to be able to fit it all in. A great grid for this I learned from one of my mentors, Steve Stroop, and it is 4 ascending boxes. And it's kind of a way to do like an activity audit. In other words, like, what's all the stuff that you do that you feel like you got to do? If you were to audit your schedule for 30 days, for a whole month, what's everything that you do? And it takes a little bit of doing, but you could actually audit yourself in that by just drawing out these 4 boxes, and then every week just write down in these boxes, where do they fit? What are the activities that you do, and where do they fit? Because you got to know what you got to start saying no to. So let me give you the box titles. Okay, bottom box of 4 ascending boxes is something you're bad at. Okay, what are you bad at, but you still do? Like, you should stop doing that. The other day, my friend Jose saw my post on social media where I was digging in my yard, and I accidentally took my shovel and put it right through my neighbor's sprinkler line because it was really close to the property line where I was digging. And so Jose said, what's funny? And he's also a pastor. He said, what's funny is I literally just did the same thing like a week ago or something. And so his comment was, we should stop digging. And I said, we should probably stop digging. I'm bad at that. There's certain things I'm not good at. And I always make a mess of, and it costs more than if I just hired somebody to do the thing or whatever. And so, what are you bad at? Second box up is, what are you good at? Things that you're actually good at, that you're like, no, I can do that really well. Here's what I want you to know is there's another box, and you got to be thinking about these ascending boxes. The third box up is, what are you excellent at? I mean, like, you're world class at this thing. And it's really, really good. I mean, when you do it, people comment, and they're like, wow, okay, that's excellent. But there's one more box, and this is what's so powerful. It is your unique ability. Your unique ability. Now, let me give you a little bit of some differentiators in these boxes. Okay, bad. Everybody thinks you should stop doing that. What, for me, it's singing. They're like, if I start singing, literally people will look at me, not like, oh, wow. They're looking like, shh, like, just, you're messing it up. So I just have to kind of sing a little quiet, and never, ever do I lead out in a happy birthday or anything like that. It just doesn't work out. So I'm bad at it. Okay, stop. Then there's the next category up, right? What are you good at? Well, just because you're good at it doesn't mean you should do it, because you might not be great at it, right? So for me, organizing, I'm good at it. I'm good enough to get myself in trouble. I'm good enough to think that I should be doing that. But the problem is that really it's something that I would only ever be volunteer at. In other words, people probably wouldn't pay me to organize stuff because I'm not that good, right? I mean, I'm okay. I can get by. And so for me, I've got these 2 boxes, bad and good. And if you were to take a month and go like, okay, what am all the stuff I'm doing, things I'm bad at, things I'm good at, put those things in there, because there should be a line right above the good box, right below the excellent box, where you say, I'm going to actually start eliminating those things from my schedule. Okay, listen to this. So in the excellent box, these are things you're really good at. People would pay you to do that. They do pay you to do that. This is what you get recognized for. This is what you are known for. This is what you get recommended for. This is your excellent work. Okay. For me, I get recommended for, and I enjoy and do a really good job at strategy. It's kind of how my brain thinks. I like it. I like to think about the future. I like to figure out how could we get there and some of those things. And so that's an excellent for me. And so I look at that and I go, okay, great. Well, what's the difference between excellent and unique ability? Listen to this. The only difference between excellent and unique ability is that when you do things that are excellent, that you're excellent at, it requires your energy. But the difference between that and the unique ability is that when you do the things that are your unique ability, it gives you energy. It gives you energy. And so for me, strategy is something that I can do really well. It requires energy. But then my unique ability is pioneering and connecting, according to the standout report from Gallup and the Tom Rath and those guys. The pioneering and connecting, when I get to try something new, when I get to meet someone new, when I get to bring people together that didn't know each other and they have something in common and now they're going to work something out and they're going to create something together, it just lights me up. I love it. So pioneering and connecting are my unique ability. And so think about this. There's 4 boxes. You should only be doing the top 2. So think about, what are you doing in your life where you're bad at or you're just merely good at? Start getting rid of that stuff. How do you do that? You defer it, you delegate it, you delete it. Okay. You defer it, you delegate it, you delete it, you start getting rid of it. Now, I mean, I want to talk in another session about how you start moving into this. But for now, make that decision. I'm going to figure out what I'm doing. I'm going to start eliminating the things that are on the bottom half of my grid. And I'm going to live in what Warren Buffett calls my circle of competence. He says, somebody asked Warren, hey, would you ever invest in that business? He said, no way. It's not inside my circle of competence. And my circle of competence is very small. And so he said, I do the things that I am uniquely able to do. And it makes you feel like you're calm, like you know what's up. Like you can't say yes to everything. You should start saying no to some things. You got to figure out, what do you want to say yes to first? And then that's how our schedule can work out. I hope that's helpful, and I hope you stay tuned for more.